I said I'd never join.
Thought living on sub would be too hard.
I figured only the weatherman tracks storms.
I said my job wouldn't matter.
Never knew how strong I was. I never thought this would be my commute.
I figured I'd never get out of my hometown.
Or be the one who stops an attack. Joining the Navy sounds crazy. Saying never actually is.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome into Behind the Helm. If you want to watch this show live, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll respond live. As always, find it, like it, share it, follow it. But if you want to watch the show after the fact, head on over to YouTube or on Facebook, where the shows are cataloged, and you can see all the comments and notes and still watch the show and any bonus content. If you just want to listen to the show, head on over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, wherever you can find a podcast, and just search up Behind the Helm. Enjoy the show. Episode 87. Thank you all. Welcome in. Episode 87 of Behind the Helm. You're here on the #1 military podcast in the Midwest. That's absolutely right. #1 in the entire Midwest. Know the dress is looking a little different today. I'm actually on leave, but I came in just for you, like always. So smash that like button, hit those bells, do all those algorithmic things that help this page, this channel, whichever you're watching on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, or if you're listening later on Spotify or Audible or Apple Podcast, hey, like it, subscribe, do all those things. You never know who you're going to help by getting this information out there. We're here. It's March 30th. You're on episode 87. If this is your 87th time here, holy cow, thank you so much. I know you're chomping at the bit to find out what's happening in season 2, but if this is your first time here, hey, you're in for a treat, because we are here March 30th, the very last Thursday of March, and March, of course, is Women's Appreciation Month. And, you know, we've been speaking to some inspirational women in the service that have done many things, and I have another great guest today that I cannot wait to introduce here in just a few. But before we do that, as always, we got to give a little homage to our eagle here. All right, and I have a really cool one. So I was looking through some stuff, trying to think of what I could do. And, you know, we've talked about the college benefits that the military has, and how you can take advantage of those, and how you can take advantage of them while you're still in. And I did that, and how you don't have to, it doesn't have to be towards the job that you have. I personally really enjoy firearms. I like learning about them, taking apart, building them. And there's a college called Sonoran Desert Institute out of Arizona, and this is a patch they sent me. This is their old design, so they don't make these anymore, and I got a certificate as a gunsmith there, and then later an associate's degree in firearm technology. So I will be giving one of the original SDI patches to the eagle. It'll hang on the wall behind me. I'll get that hung up after the show. But yeah, SDI, Sonoran Desert Institute, and it's not just for veterans. Anybody can take their course. It's online. You know, they say that you can do it with a hand drill, and you can technically do everything in your kitchen. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. But they are a great veteran school. Definitely check it out. Again, that's Sonoran Desert Institute. You should really take a look at their program if you like firearms. Get that certification, help you get some other jobs. So again, episode 87, we're getting awfully close at 1,000 followers. Regardless, we're going to roll into season 2. And like I said in the description, stick around for that bonus content to find out what season 2 is about. What are we talking about? Why do I keep saying we're moving to season 2? What does that mean? Well, I have some huge news, and I want you all to be a part of that. Now, if you're listening on the audio version, I guess you're going to have to go listen or see the video version to find out what that is, or you're just going to have to wait and see. But before I introduce my guest, I did have something really cool happen this last weekend. I did go ahead and re-enlist in the Navy for another 4 years. Let me show you guys these pictures. So my wife, Claire, did it up. She got a hold of, I take my son, Logan, who you guys have met before on the show, to the Indianapolis Fuel hockey games. They are a minor league team, an ECHL team for their farm team for the Blackhawks. I'm not necessarily a Blackhawks fan, but it's local, and we go all the time. I got the opportunity to re-enlist with an officer here, this Lieutenant Commander Taylor, on center ice at the Fuel game. So you see the team standing back there. Awesome. There was this awesome JORTC that presented the colors. Somebody saying, "God bless America." I came out, did my re-enlistment, and they got to stand out there during the national anthem. So I'll show you a couple of these pictures. Really cool. Ice looks awesome, obviously, because they had just Zambonied it. And it was awesome. Now, my wife actually knows Nitro. Nitro is the mascot and is also my son Logan, that's like his buddy. So Nitro giving me a big hug and shaking my hand. Really good guy. And then took some pictures with me and my family. You can see Logan doesn't look happy. He was. It was really daunting. He said it was kind of not scary, but he was like nervous. He didn't want to mess anything up. So it was really awesome. And I was so glad that we got to do that. So yeah, I've enlisted for another 4 years. Might as well take it to 20 at this point. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about my guest. Again, it's March. It's Women's Appreciation Month. I've talked about our Legion before, about being a member of the American Legion. I have our Legion coin up here. There was a homage to the Eagle. And our guest, Mary Brewer, who is it's the Women's Army Corps first. Technically, she was a veteran of that, then a veteran of the Army, and then later became an officer in the Naval Reserve, and is such an amazing journey, and then is outstanding member of our Legion. And I think that she has a lot to kind of show us about what it is about being a woman in the service and taking advantage of that and making the best out of it. And I love laughing with her and having a drink with her and talking with her. And even though she started in the Army, all right, she ended in a good place. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Mary, if you can hear me, I'm going to pull you up now. So feel free to go ahead and unmute. And there you are. Hello, look at you. You're even in the post. You're setting in the American Legion. She did it on purpose, by the way.
I did, and I've got the monitor behind me, so you guys
look
can
at
see.
that. American Legion welcomes you. Post 391. That's our American Legion post in Fortville, Indiana. And, you know, we're always looking, if you're local to that area, and quite honestly, yes, it's, you know, a lot of times you go to your local one, like that you're in your county, in your town. But it doesn't have to be, you know, if you know, maybe you've been to your local one, I don't know, and you don't feel like, hey, come see us. You can be a member anywhere as long as you have been a veteran. You can become a Legionnaire. So, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But Mary, I'm so glad you were able to do this today, right?
Thank you.
You were up at the Legion working because you do so much there. But let's start out with, so I had said that you were part of the women's, it's the Women's Army Corps, right?
Correct.
And that's, I mean, that's something that sounds weird. That sounds very, but it doesn't exist anymore. Right?
It doesn't. I joined the Women's Army Corps in January of 1971, and went to basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama.
Oh, and, wow.
I know.
They don't even, that's not even there well, it's not for basic training anymore.
They gave that post to the National Guard, and they have their OCS there. And I started OCS there. The National Guard sent me to OCS.
There.
So when I got out of the Army, I was an air traffic controller in the Army for, almost 6 years. So in 76, I got out, and it was very important to me that I get my college degree. So I used my GI Bill.
Good.
Went to college. My uncle paid for everything. I used every dime of my GI Bill.
Good.
And got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. And the day after I got out of the Army, I joined the National Guard. They had a program called Try One, where you could try 1 year, and if you didn't like it, you could get out. And I liked it, so I stayed another 10 years. And they sent me to OCS. It was a wonderful thing, and got my commission and became a field artillery officer. First I was signal, then I went field artillery. And I lived in El Paso, Texas at the time. And so I was a fire direction officer for one of the fire 8-inch howitzer batteries there.
Ooh, I bet that was
Texas.
fun.
I know it was. Big guns.
Big booms.
Guns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 5-inch on the ship is pretty big. I mean, and it rocks the ship. An 8-inch, you got to think you're putting 3 more inches on the diameter of that round. That's a big round. That's a big round.
Well, yeah, you can send it about 26 kilometers downrange.
Is that straight? Is that like with that's with the arc and everything? That's that's double. So anybody who doesn't know, roughly, if you are on flat ground, like say you're on the ocean, your horizon, like where it looks like the world ends because of the curve, is roughly 12 to 13 nautical miles. So, you're talking 23 kilometers. Do the math. Roughly, you're shooting about twice the distance of the horizon. Roughly, which is insane. But you said you joined back in 71, right?
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Now, did you come right out of high school and join, or
I did?
My big question to most, you were 18. My big question a lot of times is why? Why did you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to join because at the time it was even, you knew you were joining the Women's Army Corps, not the Army, right?
Correct.
So what made you decide that?
I remember going to my high school counselor's office, and in his office, he had a great big poster of a soldier And I looked at that and I said, you know, I am a patriotic person and I want to go and serve my country too.
Yeah.
And so I did.
That's hey, God bless your counselor. Hey, do you hear that, counselors? There are some. You need to hang my poster in your office. I'm telling
Exactly.
you, okay? Because like
It changed my life.
just looking at that poster, it was just like,
Yep.
never really thought of it. See, they do work. That's
They
crazy.
do work. And to this day, I have a poster of the Women's Army Corps in my home. I have it
Good.
mounted on the wall. I mean, it changed my life. It gave me such confidence in myself and such I can do anything. I can do any job I want to, and I chose air traffic control. I mean, I was the only woman in my class.
Now
There were a lot of
and that's a hard one. Air traffic control. I mean, I know with the Navy as well, that's a very hard school. And they say civilian wise, air traffic control, not that I'm trying to speak negatively or sound morbid, but that job has a very high suicide rate because it is extremely stressful. I mean, you have hundreds of lives in your hands at any given second, and you got to think an air traffic controller for a major commercial airline. I mean, you've been to an airport for how many planes are coming in and out like just constantly, you know, and if you mess up, you're gonna kill people. You know, it's tough.
And you have to in 3 dimensions. You know, you have them stacked high to low, and you have them left to right, and you know. Forward and backwards, so you're thinking in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, you're not thinking just X, Y. You got to throw in that Z too. Yeah,
exactly. And a lot of people couldn't handle it. I mean, there were a lot of guys that failed out of the air traffic control school. They made them door gunners on a Huey, so they went over to the door gunner school.
I mean that. I don't know. I think that's still pretty cool, but
yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have wanted to do it during Vietnam, right? But it's still pretty cool. Right. I mean, like, but all right. So you joined right out of high school, joined the Women's Army Corps, and I'm going to show you a picture here. Is this your boot camp photo?
That's my boot camp photo.
Right there. That's the Women's Army Corps.
Stars in my eyes. I am a patriotic person.
Oh yeah, you are. And I should have saved it, and I don't think I did. I didn't. I think right now it's kind of uncanny. I think that your profile picture on Facebook is actually like is it a Women's Army Corps like Barbie doll?
It's an avatar of that picture right there.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an actual, okay. Whew. See, I thought it was an actual like Barbie or something. Like, holy cow, that is like almost dead on. Like, but that's because it is.
No. That's my avatar. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is your boot camp photo. So this is circa 71.
71, yes.
So you go in. Now, when you joined back then, you're joining the Women's Army Air Corps, or not Army Air Corps, the Women's Army Corps, right?
Correct.
Did you go in knowing that you were going to be an air traffic controller? How did that work back then for females?
It had just happened that if you enlisted, they could guarantee you a school.
Okay.
And so when I raised my hand, I had a start date and a class number for my school. But if I didn't pass my physical and I didn't pass all of the tests that they gave me, that was null and void. So I had to pass everything to get to that school.
Right. Now, where are you originally from, Mary?
I'm originally from Alabama, so I went right up to Fort McClellan.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was curious about that because obviously I know you from Fortville, and we'll get to that eventually, but I wasn't sure because you said, there at one point you were living in Texas, but I wondered, so originally you're from Alabama. So you join, you're like, man, I can't wait to travel. What do you?
That's right. I can't wait to get out of these cotton fields.
What do you mean? I'm going just like a couple hours up the road, right?
Yeah, they put me on a bus and said goodbye.
Oh wow. Yeah, but that's just boot camp. Now, was a Women's Army Corps, because the whole thing is we had the Army and then we had the Women's Army Corps. It more or less, for anybody who didn't know, like it was segregated, so women could serve, but they were not serving in the same jobs per se, right? It was almost like 2 separate services. It was like a sister service to the Army.
But when we got to like our advanced training, the men and the women were together, but we had a separate place to live. So the Women's Army Corps barracks and the men's barracks were different.
Right.
So, yeah, it was interesting.
And now we're talking. This is in the 70s. This early
Correct.
70s. Okay. In your opinion, be candid. You joined because you're patriot. You wanted to serve. Did you feel that segregation? Like, was it? It was obvious. Like, we're separating the men and the women. But did you feel it in a negative way, or was it? Hey, I'm still a soldier.
I was very proud.
Good.
We were segregated and we were shoulder to shoulder. Our sisters were serving a very important role. Every man that graduated from air traffic control school with me went directly to Vietnam. Now, the women did not.
Right.
You had to be 21 to go into a combat zone. And if you weren't 21, you had to have your parents sign for you. Get that?
Yeah.
And
like, my parents going to sign for me to do that.
Yeah. Like, I was 18, 19 years old, maybe, when I graduated ATC school. And I knew my parents weren't going to sign for me. So I just went ahead and accepted that, that I was going to stay stateside.
Yeah. Well, we got a comment. Mr. Aaron Licklider, who's been to our Legion, he has moved since because he is in recruiting. He's in the Army. Sergeant First Class Licklider out there. He says, "Woo, Nitro," and it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well, man. Make sure you hit me up later. Again, you're on episode 87. We're sitting here with my friend, my colleague, my Legionnaire sister from Post 391, my shipmate on episode 87 of Behind the Helm. Make sure you smash that like button. Leave a comment down below if you have a question. If you've never heard of the Women Army Corps, it's pretty interesting. So, you're in the 70s, it's Women Army Corps. You go through your training. Now, you said that when you were in, me and you were talking before, while you were in was when the Women's Army Corps was disbanded.
Yes.
In
1978,
okay,
the Women's Army Corps stood down, and all of the women that were in were transferred into the regular Army. So at that point, we no longer had the company and the company commander and all of her staff that were members of the Women's Army Corps. We were assigned to our companies and regiments with the men at that point. So they had to, and a lot of times, we continued to live in the Women's Army Corps barracks. Right.
You were in the Army at this point, but it's not like they're going to put you on a bunk bed with a guy still, there's still
Correct.
that. And then
Yes.
I'm just showing this other picture of you here. Look at you, Staff Sergeant. Now, is this, at this point, you were in the Army at this point, or was this Women's Army?
I was active duty Army. I was controlling air traffic at Low Army Heliport at Fort Rucker, Alabama, when I was promoted to Staff Sergeant.
Still in Alabama. It's just not getting out of here.
I couldn't get away from it.
That's too funny. That's
aviation school is at Fort Rucker.
Right, and I will tell you, my mom or my dad actually just said, when did the Women's Army Corps stop and just Army? And you literally had just said that. I think he had just missed it. You said 78, right?
Correct. And this was in 1976, I think.
Okay, this picture here?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just so funny because I will tell you, no matter what branch you join, especially if you're kind of from you're going to leave, you're going to get to see things, and it's just so funny that you joined. You're like, yes, we need out of these cotton fields, got Alabama. You go to boot camp in Alabama. You're active. You come back active duty to Alabama. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, actually, I did have a tour while I was active duty that I went up to Fort Lewis. So I was at Fort Lewis for 18 months in Washington State.
Oh, so Washington State. Okay.
I controlled traffic at Gray Army Airfield. We had fixed wing and helicopters there.
Right.
We were about 5 miles from the Air Force base.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. I can't think of it either.
I can't think of it.
Up there. Yeah.
And Mount Rainier, you could see Mount Rainier from the control tower. So
that's
it was pretty
cool.
cool, but it was cold. I've never been colder in my whole life than I was up there.
Yeah. So you do the active thing, right? And you decided that you were going to get out You're going to use
Join the National Guard and go to school.
And use your GI Bill, which is what I
Correct.
did to go with SDI and get my certificate and degree. It was my second degree that I got, but I used my tuition assistance. I haven't touched my GI Bill yet, right? So you've used you get out, you do exactly what you should do. Use your tuition assistance or your GI Bill. You don't have to. That's what people don't understand. Somebody be like, oh, well, my Uncle Jimmy was in the Marines for 6 years and he doesn't have a college degree. Well, that's because your Uncle Jimmy doesn't want one. You have to want to go get it. You have to take advantage of the benefit. At the end of the day, we're going to give you a job. And you can do that job and go home, or you can take advantage of these extra benefits, and you're one that did. So you decide that you're going to get your bachelor's degree. Where did you get your bachelor's degree through?
University of Texas, El Paso.
University of Texas. Is that Longhorns?
Yes.
Okay, it's the same University of Texas. It was just their campus in El Paso, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're Longhorn. So you get your degree, and you said it was, did you say electrical engineering?
I did.
Wow, that's impressive. That's not an easy degree.
It's not. It was very hard.
You know, I'm feeling more intimidated now because normally I talk to you very candidly at the post. Now I've realized that, like, I might need to watch myself a little bit. You smart cookie, right?
No, you don't.
I just wait for you to get a couple rosés and then you're good. All right, so.
That's right.
Hey, you've earned it, okay? You have your rosé. Anyway, and a shout out for anybody who's ever been up to our Legion. One of our Legionnaires, Rose, if you know her, she fell. She broke, I believe, a few bones in her neck.
Right.
She's
3 vertebrae. I
three
think.
vertebrae.
She's in
Yeah, she is not doing great. So, you know, throw some prayers out there for her. Even if you don't know her, know it's somebody that served and great woman. She's super sweet, you know, but, you know, she could use a few prayers. I know you had posted that the other day, so I'll go ahead and say something about it, you know, because it's another woman that served. So could definitely.
She was a Women's Army Corps member also.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But she never came to the light side. She stayed on the dark side, so it's okay. Got one of my old future sailors, Aaron Shields. Hello, Chief. Back for another awesome podcast. Watching in Norfolk, Virginia, aboard the USS San Antonio. Awesome. Woo-hoo. Love it. Anybody else out there on the USS San Antonio, thank you very much for your service. Thank you, Shields. Hope you're out there enjoying that engine work, man. Turning them wrenches. I know that's what you wanted to do. All right, so you go into the National Guard. So you're still in. So the National Guard, the way I try to explain it to people, and I don't mean for this to sound, sometimes people take it negatively, but I don't mean it that way, right? So the Army, the Navy, all of us have reserves, okay? The National Guard is kind of owned by the state. So the easiest way to explain it is like you're like the state militia. Like, think old-time militia. Now, can you do more outside of the state? Oh, absolutely. But that's the easiest way to think about it.
We have 2 commanders, the state governor and the president of the United States. Either one of those people can activate the National Guard.
Correct. And the difference is that the governor can, right? They can activate them, whereas me being in Indiana, being in the Navy, even if I was a Navy reservist, the governor could tell me anything he wants to, and I could look at him and say, good for you, sir. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, that's the only kind of difference. There's a state chain of command involved with that. Correct. But depending on what state you're in, comes state funding with that too. So that helps. But you were already active. You go into the National Guard, so you're continuing your service. You get your degree. You said that they created an OCS, which we've talked about OCS on the show before with the Naval OCS. Ensign Dunnick had went out and did that, kind of told us about it. But they created the OCS, and they created it down where you originally went to boot camp. And you got to be one of the first ones to go through there?
Well, I was there at like class number 60 something now, and I was class number 20.
Oh, okay.
So It's been a while.
Right. My dad said that, and my dad's huge into college sports. He said the University of Texas, El Paso, actually has their own basketball team and football team and everything, which is true. Just like here in Indiana, like I grew up in the Kokomo area, there is IUK, Indiana University of Kokomo. They are affiliated with the Bloomington, like, whatever, the Hoosiers, but they have their own sports teams and stuff. So it's kind of cool. But when you get your, yeah, go ahead.
They're the miners. The school was originally called the College of Mines, and it was it was like an archaeology and rocks and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they're the miners.
Okay, and the thing is I always talk about like some of those other smaller colleges like that. At the end of the day, your degree says University of Texas. It doesn't say University of Texas, El Paso. It's from the University of Texas. You get one from, like here in Indianapolis, IUPUI, depending on what the program is, it's either a degree from Indiana University or a degree from Purdue University. It doesn't say IUPUI on it, So, right. Hey, you do what you got to do, and, you did more than most. But that's true. I didn't even think about that. UTEP, they do. They have their own teams and stuff like that. They're just kind of like an affiliate of. Yeah. So that's cool. So you do that. You go to OCS. Now, when you go to OCS, you tried it, you did it, and you get to commission as an officer. But you're commissioning as an officer in the National Guard, correct?
That is correct.
So you went from active duty Army. Well, you went from Women's Army Corps to which, it's active duty Army, but it was its own thing, to active Army, to National Guard. Now, were you in the Alabama National Guard? Were you still in Alabama? No, you're in Texas.
Yeah. Yes, I actually started OCS right at Fort McClellan.
But before that, before you went OCS, were you in the Alabama National Guard or Texas?
Alabama. I was assigned to a unit there in Montgomery as an controller.
Okay. So you do that. You go to OCS. You commission. You've already went from active to National Guard, reservist, if you want to say, to an officer now. Now you're an officer. You started out 18 years old, active duty, getting probably yelled at by some officers, right? And we're probably talking officers that, and then now you're an officer, get the opportunity to become an officer. So what was next? You become an officer for the National Guard. What'd you do?
Well, they sent me to signal officer training, which we called fork and knife school. They teach you a lot of different things about where to go and how to do it. And I also was trained to be a communications platoon leader. So when I went back to my unit in El Paso, from that school, I was the communications platoon leader.
Oh, okay.
And then transitioned over into field artillery and became the fire direction officer.
And that's when you were doing, was that when you were doing the howitzers, the 8-inch howitzers? Yeah. That's cool.
Yes. 3rd of the 133rd Field Artillery right there in El Paso, Texas.
So you went from making sure that aircraft land safely to throwing a giant explosive like downrange. You got sick of seeing things land safely. You wanted to see things blow up.
That's right. Let's blow something up.
That's what I
and
like.
You know what they use there in El Paso as targets?
I'm gonna take a guess. I want to see if I'm right. School buses?
Helicopters.
Really? Old helicopters.
Old helicopters. They would fly them up on the mountain, and we would take aim and fire.
Oh, they would fly them up, just kind of set them on the mountain? That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it was the ones that they couldn't repair anymore, so they were just shells.
Right, yeah, they didn't actually like fly them up there like, hey, look, it's a working helicopter. They dropped them. Yeah, right. Because that would be like, wow, no wonder we're in tax debt. We used to just fly helicopters that work and just drop them off on a mountain and shoot them with a howitzer. Like, no big deal. I mean, because heck, those howitzer shells aren't cheap either,
No, they're not.
No.
And get this, and as a 3rd of the 133rd 8-inch howitzer battery.
Yeah,
we were nuclear capable.
Oh yeah, I bet. Had to be.
We had nuke rounds that we would practice with, not live ones, but we had dummy nuke rounds that we'd practice with. But I'm here to tell you, I told everybody there, I said, whatever you pull the lanyard on a nuke round, I'm going the other way.
No joke. I get that we can send it 23 kilometers and that's quote unquote safe. That is not far enough for me.
No,
okay.
not far enough.
Nope. Man. But I understand why. That makes sense. I do see out there, Shields. I'll make sure to let Justice know he does remember you because we talked about you. That's cool. They were in the Scouts together. One of my future sailors landed Justice, Eagle Scout, automatic E3. Because he was an Eagle Scout.
Right.
Like, how cool is that? If you're an Eagle Scout, you can start two ranks ahead of anybody else because of the training and things that you've done.
I'm going to tell my granddaughter that she's in scouting, and I've been talking to her about the Navy. So that's a good thing to know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Because, with schools that have JORTCs, you can get advanced for that, obviously. But not a lot of schools in the area don't have that. So being an Eagle Scout, to be able to be an E3 because you're an Eagle Scout, I mean, that's awesome, and it's well deserved. Anybody who's ever been in Scouts, who's ever tried to work up, it's not not
an
easy.
easy thing to get.
No, and
It's hard.
and I've told Just, I don't know if I ever told Shields and my dad's watching, but one of my prized possessions when my great grandmother passed away, lived in Kokomo her whole life. Her husband was the milkman in Kokomo. That's, or her dad was, her dad was a milkman in Kokomo through the Depression.
Did he deliver milk in glass bottles to the back door?
Yeah, and it's just wild because they had, this large family during the Depression. The dad was the milkman. Mom stayed at home, and that's how they survived. But later in life, her husband, my grandpa Freddie, who I had only met when I was a baby, after my grandma passed away, we were cleaning out her house and everybody was overlooking this thing. And my dad knew what it was. And it was this little brass frame. I have to bring it in sometime. And he showed it to me and said, "Do you know what that is?" And I instantly knew what it was. It was the Eagle Scout pin, right?
Oh, wow.
In this little brass frame about this big that he had pinned the pin in there. And so you got to think, if my grandmother was a kind of a preteen in the 20s, you're talking about becoming an Eagle Scout in the 20s, 30s. You think it's hard now? Like, we're taking people whitewater rafting and stuff with all the top of the line camping gear and all this stuff. Like, imagine becoming an Eagle Scout then. So I have that. It hangs above my workbench in my garage so that when I'm working on something and I get frustrated and wish there was an easier way, I can look up and say, I guarantee my grandpa could have done it. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, super cool. And I know that's way off topic, but you're here on episode 87. We're actually talking to my friend, my shipmate, Mary Brewer, who was the Women's Army Corps veteran, then National Guard, then became an officer with the National Guard, got to shoot 8-inch howitzers. She was a fire control officer for that. And then something else happened. How did we become shipmates? What happened?
Well, at the time, the Navy was recruiting because they were having problems getting people that could pass a security clearance. And here I was, Army officer with a top secret with an SBI, secret background investigation. And so as soon as they saw me and saw my credentials, they said, "Would you like to join the Navy? You know, we wear white uniforms and we're in air-conditioned spaces and we don't go to the field for 2 weeks."
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I said, "Sign me up."
Look, my recruiter, where I recruited out of in Kokomo, the Navy recruiting office was right inside the door. It was the kind where you had to walk through the hallway. This dude was a ruthless snake, man. Especially when he'd see women walk in, he'd be standing there, he'd be like, "Oh, hey, where are you at?" This is before you had to buzz in. And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to the Marine recruiter." He would look at them and be like, "The Marines, you want to get dirty?" Like, and we get dirty in the Navy, but that's how I was like, bro, now as a recruiter, I'm like, that was just ruthlessly dirty. But it is true. I mean, I make that joke, like, you choose your rate, you choose your fate. I worked in air-conditioned spaces when we were over in the Gulf. Now, don't get me wrong. I had to go topside and do stuff, and I got really hot. But there were times I had a big coat on sitting in my space, and I loved walking out on the smoke decks with it on. People be sweating. I'd just be like, "God, it's cold," and just see their face when they wanted to punch me.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Oh, yeah.
We had a skiff in the spaces where I did my reserve training.
Basically a secret space. Top secret locked space, yeah.
And we had a dedicated line back to guess where my home port was? Go ahead, guess.
Mm,
My parent unit as an intel officer was Honolulu, Pearl Harbor.
was it really? I was gonna say like maybe Port Hueneme. No, or Maryland. No, Pearl Harbor. Wow.
The Joint Intel Command Pacific is right there at Pearl Harbor. And every other year, as a Navy reservist, I had to go back to my home unit. They made me go.
Oh, darn. Oh man, you got forced. You got forced to go to Hawaii as an officer. Man, I bet that was rough.
It was so rough.
Especially being in the Women's Army Corps and then the National Guard. Yeah, in Alabama. Yeah, I bet you were just like, man, this is horrible. Why did I ever do this?
This is the life. Where have I been?
So, and here's a picture of you in that. This uniform just looks so much better on you, Mary. I don't know what it is. And this is, I mean, this is not, this isn't you're not a little baby ensign here or nothing. You are a lieutenant commander. So you are the same rank as the person who enlisted me this last Sunday, who's getting ready to retire out of the Navy after 25 years.
Yes.
And
I
you are
retired as an 04 lieutenant commander.
Yeah. So, and you had already put a lot of, so total time in service.
23 years. 6 months and 11 days.
Dang, you have it down to the day. You don't have it down to the hours and minutes, though, so I'm not that impressed.
No, they mustered me out at about 8 o'clock in the morning. So
you don't count the day at all.
Count that. Oh yeah, I count that day. That's the 11th day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the day had already been going on for about 4 hours, depending on where you're at.
By the time I got out, they took away my ID card, and here I am in uniform, and it's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, no joke. So you actually, but you retired out. You are a retiree, which we've talked about. There's different benefits to that. I mean, yeah, if you come in and you do a service, you come out. You are still a veteran, but there's a difference between being a veteran and being a retiree because of the benefits that you get to maintain and keep.
Let me tell you, I just bought a new house in Pendleton, Indiana, and my Navy retirement pays my house payment.
Easy day. A brand new house.
Brand new house.
And that's Navy retirement as a, because it's a little weird for you. So if you do active now, 20 years minimum active, you get out, you get your pension. If you're a reservist, you earn, the way they do it now, you earn points towards it. You earn your pension, but you don't get it till kind of later. But since you were active and how did that work for you?
Well, for the active time, I get 1 point for each active day. And the reserve time, you get 60 points for every good year that you serve. And a good year means you served 12 weekends plus
your 2 weeks.
Your 2 weeks in the summertime, which I usually tried to go in the summertime because I was going mostly to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
but anyway,
sure.
And then they have a formula that they use. They calculate those points, and they have a formula that they use to calculate based on your rank how much you make each month. And
how early you can get it, right?
Well, when I retired, the earliest you could retire was 60. I don't know what the date is.
Right. And we're talking reservists. So like active duty.
Yes.
If you go into 18, you get out after 20 years, you're 38 years old, you can receive a pension.
That's correct.
But reserve, it's a little different, and it all depends on the amount of time and how they do the pointing system. And I don't remember exactly. I'm really going to have to get a full-blown recent reservist retirement to talk about that sometime because it's just a little different, but it makes sense. It's still better. It makes sense. So you're talking reservist. We're not talking active duty pension. We're talking reservist pension, and it pays your brand new house payment. No problem. Yep. Easy day.
No problem.
And so you did 23 years, but you came in at 18. So in those 20, in that amount of time, you got your bachelor's degree, you got to serve in multiple services, you earn this pension. When you got out, I mean, you're barely 40, maybe a couple years because you took a break in time or?
No, I had no breaks in service. I went until October 1995. That's when I got out.
So you were 23 years, you were 41?
Something like that.
That's impressive. It really is. And that's what I try to tell to people now. Yeah, you don't sign up for 20 years, but I think to myself, I just turned 37. If I would have joined
Yeah.
at 18, I'd be retiring in like a couple years. I still got 12 to go, or 8 to go.
It'll be fun. You'll love it.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in bonus content today when you find out what's going on in season 2, what we're going to be doing. So stick around. You're here on episode 87. We're talking to my friend, my shipmate, Mary Brewer, a Legionnaire, which we're getting ready to get into at American Legion Post 391 in Fortville, Indiana. And make sure you smash that like button. Throw a comment down below if you have a question for her. Even if you're watching this later, trust me, I see her all the time. So we'll definitely get those questions answered. We're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. It'll be up tomorrow morning on Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find a podcast. So you get out. 95, right? You are very much an active member of the American Legion now. Okay, but when you get out in 95, they take your ID. And where were you at the time?
Escondido, California.
You're in California. Okay. So you're in California. You get out.
Yeah, I moved to San Diego because when I transferred into the Navy,
Right.
there are a lot more pay billets in San Diego for the Navy than there are for the Army. So we moved out there.
And by pay billets, what she means is as a reservist, you can get on billets where you're getting paid active time. Right. They're like little jobs you can pick up where it is your 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job, to where it's not just the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year. You can pick up active time on reserves. You just have to be where those billets are.
Exactly.
Right. And yeah, I guarantee that there were more active Navy billets in San Diego than there were in Texas or in Alabama.
There were. And it was a beautiful place to live.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to live. Petty Officer Levesque, the one who started this with me, he's out there in San Diego now. I wouldn't want to live there now. He said, it is expensive. The amount that he gets for BH is ridiculous. I mean, he has to. But anyway, so when did you decide to when did you first go into an American Legion?
When I moved here.
So,
actually, I was living near my sister in Tennessee, and my son lives up here in Indiana, and I have 3 little granddaughters that I wanted to be part of their life. So I moved up here to be part of their life. And when I moved here, I was living in a rental property here in Fortville. And it's just at the end of Mill Street. So I would walk down to the American Legion.
And it was kind of the first Legion you'd ever went to?
It was.
And it's so funny because you mentioned your granddaughters, and it's such a connected world anymore with all these things. There's so many different apps. And I remember when I asked you to do this, I said, well, I use Zoom. And you're like, okay, I FaceTime my granddaughters. Is it like that? I said, it's 100% like that. Easy day. You're like, I know one of them, but it is. There's another one. You got to download some other app. But yeah, all right. So that was actually the first Legion, and I can say the same. I won't say it's the first Legion I ever went into. It was the first Legion that I ever went into with the thought of I should belong here. You know what I mean? When I was younger, we would go to the one locally, but I wasn't even in the military at the point, right? And so you used to walk down there, and then I think that there's this old connotation that Legions and like VFWs and these type of organizations are very old school and very not chauvinistic, but misogynistic, very male oriented, that women, that's what the auxiliary's for. That's for the women.
Yeah, that's not true.
No.
I mean, we have served our time. We are true Legionnaires. We, I'm going to run for office. I have been appointed to a couple of offices here. I'm the finance officer. I write the checks. I pay the bills. I take care of our webpage.
You're the historian?
I'm the historian. I'm making a scrapbook for the Legion to make sure that they have a history that they can continue on with after I'm gone. And so it's my family here. When I walked in,
100%.
You're one of us. Come on in, sister.
100%. So there is this, ladies, listen up. If you are a veteran, and to be a member of the American Legion, as far as being a Legionnaire, you have to have a DD-214. Okay. You
That's
have
right.
to have served. That is it. Okay. You served your time. I don't care how, where, whatever. You deserve as much as anyone else to be a member of that Legion. You will be a Legionnaire. Most people, when they think of the Legion, they think of mainly men, and then when they think of women, they think of the Women's Auxiliary. It's not even called that anymore. It's just called the Auxiliary because there are men in the Auxiliary.
That's right.
The Auxiliary was kind of, I don't want to say it's for spouses, but that's kind of what you think of, and that's a lot of what it is. My wife Claire is a member of the Auxiliary up there, but like let's say I
husband. He could be
a member of the auxiliary because he hasn't, maybe he hadn't served and he's just your husband. He could. It is not male female like that. So I think sometimes, especially the younger generation of female service members, don't know that that's something that they could belong to, and
you will be welcomed. I know
with
you
open
will.
arms. With open arms. Absolutely. And because I'll tell you right now that the guys pick on each other and we pick on Mary just as much. And she picks on us back just as much. So you guaranteed you have the same sense of humor that we do because you've served your time and you are more than welcome. Come up there. And there are other things with the Legion too. I think people don't, there's a lot I didn't know. And maybe you as being a finance officer now, even seeing it more and I never realized how much money an organization like the Legion gives away back into the community. It is one of the most charitable organizations I've ever been able to. Yeah,
it's a veteran service organization also. So if you need help with your VA, come and see the veteran service officer here, and they will put you in touch with the right people. And, if you want to serve on a committee, you want to serve as an officer, all you have to do is know when the elections are held and show up and say, I want to run for this.
Or if you just want to help, how can I help? Trust me, there's always stuff to be done, and we're always looking for people to take charge of things. I'm still active, and I volunteer. I do a lot of our funerals and our celebrations of life. I go and do that with our honor guard. I'm honored to be able to do it. We do different things.
Coming up on Saturday,
I saw that you posted that. Nobody's reached out to me, so I don't know if they need me or not. Depends on the time, but I know that they will. They always do. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. So man, woman, doesn't matter. And the other thing to remember is that American Legion is it's a family establishment. Yes, it is. I think that people get this bad connotation too, that an American Legion is just where these old crusty dudes sit around and drink and stumble out of.
Smoke. And we don't smoke in our Legion.
No, our Legion is smoke-free one. Are there some old crusty dudes that sit around and drink? Yes, I'm one of them. But
yes,
but it's not. But that's not what it's about at all. And it is a family establishment. Me and my son's birthday party was there, which we had a great fun. And even though the bar was still open, there were a few members that came over, told us, hey, happy birthday. And there's constantly different things. All the time. Oh yeah,
kids that come in and they'll do their homework. They'll sit at a table and do their homework while we're socializing.
Yep. Me and my son come in there and they just can't obviously sit at the bar, but he sat at the table with me and watched sports before and, ordered his Coke and had some popcorn and yeah, absolutely. So, if you're somebody that has a Legion in your local area, it doesn't matter if you've never served because there are different ways too. Maybe your dad has served. Okay. Maybe your grandfather has served. You could be there's another organization that is out of the same building called the Sons of the Legion, the Sons of the Legion, and it's a little bit different, but they work a lot with us with a lot of the charity events and things like that. There are a lot of ways that you can be part of it. And again, the biggest thing is you're a Legionnaire. You are a female, you're a Legionnaire. It doesn't matter. It's not a male-ran organization. And in fact, who was the guest we had? Was a couple meetings ago. She was I know she's from district. I cannot remember her name. but she's from district and she does like all the membership for like the entire state or whatever. I think. Yeah.
That's a big.
Yeah. So, and again, a woman service member, like it is not male ran. So ladies, if you're out there and you've served, trust me, you would be welcome. Yeah.
We need you.
Yeah, we do. We would love to have you. We really would.
Yes.
Mary's outnumbered and she don't like it. So
They pick on me too much.
oh no, we do not. It's because you pick on us worse. But
I know.
but most of the time it's because we deserve it. So, but absolutely, like, you know, Mary, you being somebody who joined this thing back in 71, you've gone through the reserve side of it, you've gone through the officer side of it, the enlisted side of it. You're a legionnaire, right? Many years of service, and you know, from me to you, I thank you for your service, because if it wasn't for somebody like you, I probably wouldn't have a job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But you know, it's Women's Appreciation Month nationally, and we celebrate it in the military as well. And you are standing proof that there are strong women out there, and that they shouldn't be afraid to press new bounds and try new things. I mean, you were in charge of firing 8-inch howitzers. That's amazing.
That's right. I told pilots where to go.
Yeah, and my dad just said, and this is true as well, a very, very, very close friend of our family, my dad's best friend growing up, his dad, somebody I used to see all the time, my sister's very close to, Tom Brown out of Walton, Indiana, was a Marine veteran, and he just a few days ago passed away. They're honoring him at the Walton Legion on Sunday. So if you're in the area, he didn't want a funeral. He just didn't. But I know they're honoring him at the Legion on this Sunday. But you know, what would you say, Mary, to somebody, like to a young woman out there, for these young women who maybe they don't know what they want to do? They don't know if they're going to go to college, but, you know, I get a lot of times that, you know, women are kind of afraid of the military. They feel like sexual harassment is this huge thing, and that's just going to happen to them, even though I tell them how much training and stuff we get on it, because when it does happen, which it rarely does, it becomes this big news thing. You, as somebody who did 23 years in the service as a female, we're talking back in the 70s, 80s, and is an active legionnaire now, what would you say to them?
I loved every minute of it. If you join, you will love it too. They welcome you. You're their sister. You're serving. You're giving a valuable part of your life to fulfill a mission, and they salute you for that. So you will love it. Do it.
And I think 100% it is all in how you act about it. And if you act that, what you just said, I think is the biggest thing. If you act like a victim, you're a victim. If you know you joined because that doesn't matter, male or female. If you join because of what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and you strive to achieve it, nobody can hold you down from that. And I can tell you there are so many benefits and opportunities for you, male, female, black, white, green, I don't care if you identify as a toaster, okay? There are benefits out there for you that you will benefit from. Don't take it for granted. This is coming from somebody who served 23 years as a female in multiple services. Yeah.
You will be treated as an equal.
Absolutely. And and I can tell you right now that if you're not, heads will roll. Like it's not a joke. We take it very, very seriously. So,
right.
Mary, I'm going to let you go. I feel like there's a rosé waiting for you up there at the bar.
There is, and a bunch of checks to sign.
And you got checks to send out. Well, do that first. You never want to count while drinking. But, you know, she's waiting.
I always make sure my decimal lines up.
There you go. Always make sure it lines up. And again, ma'am, thank you so much for your service. I will see you at the Legion soon, I'm sure. And thank you for sharing your story with us. And I hope here on episode 87, the #1 military podcast in the Midwest, Behind the Helm, that somebody somewhere, whether it's male, female, hopefully some young woman hears your story and says, I could do that. And I hope that they do.
You can do that.
Well, and if you have done that, come up and see us at the Legion and tell us about it, and hey, maybe become a member. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Come talk to us about it.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Thank you, Mary. Have a great day, okay? I appreciate you. All right. What a great guest. I love Mary. She is the greatest. And when I first became a member at the Legion and found out that she was in the Navy, I didn't know. I didn't know all this about her. It's amazing the stories that you find out. And what an amazing story. Thank you so very much for that. Episode 87, #1 military podcast in the Midwest, Behind the Helm. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit those bells, share this feed, do all those algorithmic things because, hey, look, that information could help somebody. Literally saw a poster in her counselor's office and said, I'm going to do that. And that's what she did and took it way farther than a lot of people would ever think to do. So with that being said, this is that point that I end the audio version of the show. So those of you who are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that, you want to see the bonus content, find out about season 2. Look, you're just going to have to go watch it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, which the outro is getting ready to tell you. But with that being said, let's roll right into that bonus content. All right. So for those of you who are still watching, I've been hinting that at about episode 100, we're going to roll into season 2, and that might happen a little sooner than expected. So I re-enlisted. We talked about that, showed those pictures of my reenlistment. Super cool. It was awesome. Thank you to the chiefs out there. My dad said, great job, Brad. I know he means Brad. That's okay. Spelling is a son of a gun. I'm just messing with you, Dad. But, you know, I re-enlisted. It was really cool. I had the opportunity to do that. And I've came up for orders, and I got 2 select orders. And I get to go back to a ship. I'm going to go to DDG 51, the Arleigh Burke. But what is interesting about that and what I'm going to do for season 2 is that I'm going to start documenting over the next about year about that transition, things that you have to do, ways to do it, what to look for, and we'll still have some interviews along the way as well about regular information, but I really am hoping, because as I'm getting ready to embark on this journey, it's something that I haven't done, and you know, there's a lot of things that even after 12 years of service that I don't know, and it's going to be figuring those out and hopefully documenting it so it'll help other people. But what's really cool is where the Arleigh Burke is and why it's something I've never done. So I'm actually going to show a video. It's about 9 minutes long from Nikki MGTV. Somebody.
I figure as much. I might as well cover why I really enjoyed Road to Spain and why there's 5 reasons you need to go there. What is up, guys? You're tuning in
Road to
Nikki
Spain
MGTV for another military video for all your military video needs. As always, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below. And as always, we have a live stream every Friday, 7 p.m. California time, where I answer your questions live. And we have a Patreon link down below where you can donate as little as $1 and help the channel grow and get some perks. So as I'm now going to Okinawa, as I mentioned in my last video, which you can see here, pretty much I wanted to reflect back because I look back at Road to Spain, my second duty station, as this really good place that I went to. And I'm going to give you guys the 5 reasons as to why you guys should be stationed there. And I always get people that are telling me they're passing up Spain as one of the best hard locations to get to in your career, and I don't understand why. So I guess I should list those reasons why you guys need to go overseas to these locations. So the first one is weather. You're going to be like, I don't really know Spain for the weather, but particularly southern Spain, where you're going to be at if you choose Road to Spain, is going to be one of the best places you could be in Europe, which I think is actually overlooked compared to many other places that are considered warm in Europe. Now I'm going to give you guys total disclosure here. I didn't even know where Rota was at until after I was selected for Rota, and I was like, how far is that from Barcelona and Madrid? To find out, it's like 5 hours to 6 hours south of Madrid, and then it's actually 10 hours from Barcelona, which, mind you, flights are so cheap to both those cities that it really, no one drove there. But it was easily accessible if need be. But the weather is key because it's very much just like here where I live at in San Diego, where the summers are not particularly too hot, and then the winters are not particularly too cold. The winters you're looking at probably around like 45 to 40 degrees at the colder end, and then as warm as like 90 to 95 in the summer. I didn't actually think about weather until after the fact, where I was like, oh, thank God I'm not somewhere super cold. Compared to most places in the world, you can't really complain. Also, in Spain, everyone agreed on this, was that the sun would be out much longer than anywhere else I've ever lived in my life. So it would be like 10:30, the sun's just going down in the summer at that point. So I really enjoyed that. Now, one thing that gets often overlooked as well is the fact that you're going to a much smaller community, and you're like, why does that even matter? But being in a small community of Americans in a foreign country actually is a big benefit, and it could be a big downfall, but I saw more benefits than negatives to this factor. That's because being in Rota, Spain, I was able to, if I needed help with anything, I was able to call somebody. I need someone to watch my dogs. I need someone to give me a ride to the base or whatever. It was the fact that, like, I could easily have people that were there for me, just like if they needed something, I was there for them. Definitely watch people's dogs, and they'd watch my dogs, and it was just a big community. It was just really the beauty of seeing a community of Americans be able to come together with this common mentality or common situation. And I feel like after that situation of being in Rota, Spain, I realized what real friendships are, I guess you could say, in the military, because being stateside, I don't enjoy stateside as much because it's not much community. You go to work, you go home, and what you do on your free time is like, you just do whatever you do. However, when I was overseas, it was like, oh, let's all hang out. We work together, let's hang out together, let's travel together. It was just like this big group of people. You could not go anywhere without running into people or talking with them. So a typical trip to like the commissary or the Navy exchange never ended quickly. You always ran into friends no matter what, so that was good. I did mention walking, and it is a city or area that's easily able to be walked depending where you're at. Most people are going to be in Rota. For the audience that's here, if you're single, if you're with a family, you're probably going to live on Puerto de Santa Maria, which is on the other side, which you will need to drive more so, but there's better restaurants there. But Rota, the city right outside the base, is actually very easily able to be walked straight down to the beach, straight out the gate. Also,
So I don't want to do the whole video just because it is like 9 minutes long, but yeah, you can always check that out again to see the other reasons that he has. That's Nikki MGTV, 5 reasons to be stationed in Rota, Spain. And yeah, that is the big news. So for season 2, I chose orders. I'm going to Rota, Spain. It's 3 years to the Arleigh Burke, which is a Arleigh Burke class destroyer, the first that was built of its kind. And I'm excited to go there. I'm going to be going to lead sailors. And the big thing is the transitioning from recruiting back to sea duty. But before I do that, I have to go to a school in August in Illinois, go to a school that's like 7 months long, one that's like 2 or 3 weeks long in Virginia, then another one at another spot in Virginia that's like 7 months long before I even actually transfer over to Spain. And the Navy is going to move me for all that. They're going to move me and my family to Virginia, and then move me and my family, my dogs, everything to Spain. So it is already a daunting process as I've looked through things, and I think that for season 2, if I start documenting these things, that hopefully maybe eventually it will help someone who is going through the same thing and doesn't really know where to start. It's not that I don't have a good command. I have a great command, but being part of a rural recruiting command, my admin is not right next door. I can't walk over and talk to them. So there's a lot that you have to really kind of figure out on your own, or it's a multiple back and forth to try to get things figured out. So that's what we're going to be doing with season 2. Season 2, when we start that, is going to be documenting the schools that I go to and the travel that I have to do and how you make that happen and what that looks like. So hopefully it will help somebody. And for those of you who are still on watching live, thank you so very much. For those of you who are watching later, so you can still throw your comments down below. You could always message us on Facebook and we will hit you up, get those answers back to you. Feel free to reach out. And I will see you guys. Ooh, Man, I should have said it. Next week, I'll put some posts out. We're not going to be on Thursday because I will be at the NRA banquet that I go to annually. We are going to have to push back till Friday, and Friday is going to be our Q&A episode. We haven't done one in a while. We didn't do one for March, so it'll be on Friday. However, you can find the podcast that we did earlier up on all the audio things, whether it be Audible or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. That'll be up tomorrow morning at about 8 a.m., right after I log off of this. I'm going to trim it up and get it uploading. So thank you guys so much. And until next week, until next time, hey, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share the feed. Even if you're watching later, share this, man. It's going to help somebody, especially if you know a female, a woman who has served. Look, you should show them this. I would love to see them come into the Legion. I don't want them thinking that they're not welcome. They 100% are. Thank you guys so very much. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my leave, my spring break with my buddy Logan. Logan, you over there? Hey, you want to come over and say hi real quick? Come here. Logan's been chilling. No, you can bring your headphones. Show him your new cool headphones. Logan's been chilling the whole time we've been doing. He's over in the green room on the couch, just chilling back behind. Here he is, big Logameister Meisterburger. What's up, buddy? He's on spring break. He's been just watching some videos, having you some Minecraft videos over there. Hey, say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, you've been building on Minecraft, been going crazy, right? What did we do yesterday? Where'd we go?
Children's Museum.
Of Indianapolis, and they have a new exhibit. What was that exhibit?
Minecraft.
Yeah, it was super cool, wasn't it? We had a lot of fun with our cousin Owen and Aunt Fee and Carson. So, all right, guys. Well, we're gonna let you go. Throw him a peace sign, Logan. Throw him up a peace sign. All right, guys. Thank you so very much. Till next week. Have a good one.